Destroy All Humans was all out bonkers fun, even if I was too young to understand the rather adult humour in the game at the time. So I was excited to finally jump back into the series. Black Forest Games already did a great job on the original game, so I had high hopes for this remake. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed brings all new graphics, but is the carnage as fun as it was back in 2006? And does the leap to the next gen help the game? Well, that's what I'm here to answer in GameXplain's review of Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed on PS5. Continuing the story of the first game, Crypto is now the President of the United States. Well, technically his predecessor, Crypto 138, who has something the KGB wants called the package. And if you know anything about this series' childish sense of humour, then you probably already know that, yes, the package refers to his genitals. Every single thing in the game is a caricature of life in the 60s. Or what I imagine life in the 60s to be like. America is filled to the brim with hippies and everything is blamed on the Russians. The British love drinking tea and listening to The Who and the Rolling Stones. And Russia is an industrial wasteland where everyone loves vodka. And there are kaiju running rampant in Japan. I was constantly amused exploring each world, and the dialogue between Crypto and the other characters was hilarious. The best of the bunch was Natalia, who's a Russian spy that Crypto grew a liking for. And their back and forth is some of the best writing in this series.
Hey, Dollface, you seen my new weapon yet?
Crypto. Very impressive.
Well, you know what they say. Big guns, large arsenal.
You know, that's maybe the clumsiest innuendo you've ever attempted.
Thanks, I wrote it myself.
It also develops Crypto as a character a tiny bit more than I was expecting, giving him someone he genuinely cared about. This sounds ridiculous for a Destroy All Humans game, but it is that absurdity that carries the narrative of the game. You also have dialogue options, and in most cases, one of them is to insult whoever you're speaking to, and I love picking it to see what random crap Crypto will come out with. Comedy is hard to do in games, and although this style of comedy won't work for everyone, I thought it was great. But we're not here to talk, we're here to destroy all humans, and Crypto has quite the arsenal to do so. Now, for people who didn't play the original games, the remake of the first one added a lot of the improvements that were lifted from the sequel, so it won't feel like quite as big a leap for mankind as it did at the time. But the game feels great to play regardless. Crypto is snappy with his slide and jetpack, and the weapons have a nice feedback when firing. Now, the most dated part of the game is undeniably the mission structure. Every single mission boils down to listening to some dialogue, going to some place, blowing some crap up, and then getting the hell out of there. There are slight variants, like you might have to triangulate the position of the objective, or tail someone, or use your ship to destroy things, but they all feel very samey, especially after 5 worlds of the same thing. The variety comes by way of side objectives, which will task you with doing extra bits in a mission. You might have to kill an enemy with a certain type of weapon, or throw something into water or acid instead of just shooting them. While none of these are difficult, I enjoyed that the game gave me ideas on how to spice up the combat, rather than sticking to the same few weapons. Speaking of which, most of the weapons feel great to use. The Zap-O-Matic is your basic bread and butter that electrocutes enemies and has unlimited ammo on a recharge. But it's the other more unique weapons where the fun really lies. Like the anal probe. Well, does that really need an explanation? It isn't the best weapon to use, but it still made me chuckle like the 5-year-old child that I am. The meteor strike absolutely decimates everything around you, and the gastro gun, which is Mr. Zircon before Mr. Zircon, automatically shoots at enemies. There are quite a few more weapons, and just like Destroy All Humans 1, the game has a basic but satisfying progression system. Every part of Crypto's arsenal can be upgraded by collecting these upgrade cells when completing missions or exploring the levels. There are simple upgrades like improving your shield capacity or increasing the speed of the dash, but each weapon has 2 final upgrades that improve the weapon drastically. For example, the disintegrator ray turns into a rapid fire weapon, and it made me seek out the collectibles and complete the side objectives so I could upgrade my weapons. The same goes with the ship. However, I didn't upgrade it as much as you hardly use it in Destroy All Humans 2. And as someone who typically dislikes vehicle sections, I thought this would be a plus for me, but I actually missed using the ship and wish there were more ship-specific missions. There is one other upgrade path that is upgrading your mind powers. You do so in the gene blender, where you have to suck up X amount of each type of person, blend them up, and voila, you upgrade one of your abilities. I did find this quite tedious, however, and got bored of it in the final 2 levels of the game, so I gave up on it. Exploring the open levels is quite fun too, if you like wreaking havoc. You can zoom around, finding collectibles that are in the form of upgrade cells, artwork, and music tracks. There is a handy tracker that beeps the closer you get to a collectible, but there are over 50 things to collect in each level, so it can get quite tedious if you're going for 100% completion. Graphically, Destroy All Humans 2 looks great. It's a ground up remake, so everything is brand new. The levels are bright and appealing, and Crypto looks great, especially his weird head pores and veins. Each place is beautifully recreated with iconic locations from the Tower Bridge to the Tokyo Tower. The texture work is solid too, and some of the new lighting effects bring the levels to life like never before. Although there are some issues with lighting and reflections that can be too bright at points, and I almost needed sunglasses to play in the final level. Pardon the pun, but where it shines are the particle effects, as each weapon has some lovely effects, especially when destroying buildings. Just like in the first game, however, pop-in is very noticeable in cutscenes. The backgrounds would take a few seconds to load every single time the camera angle changed on each cutscene, which was quite jarring. Moving at speeds has some pop-in, but it isn't all too noticeable. The music fits the setting perfect, with some bombastic sci-fi themes sprinkled with a nice mixture of era-appropriate music that definitely doesn't sound like Purple Haze. Unfortunately, the game suffers from some glitches and some are worse than others. They're mostly minor, like some voice lines looping when you skip them, which completely defeats the purpose of skipping them. And the audio mixing during missions is a bit wonky too, as it's hard to hear conversations that happen during gameplay, which is a shame because I really enjoy the dialogue.
Oh, if only one company to get it. I don't know. Maybe some kind of jetpack?
You can adjust the audio levels manually, but then the dialogue outside of gameplay is too loud. I did encounter one save-breaking bug, and while I can't confirm exactly what caused it, it happened when I replayed a mission and then beat it again. Luckily, it only happened after an hour of playtime, and we've alerted the developer to the issue, so just keep that in mind going into the game. With a game like Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, you have to temper your expectations. While the game looks modern, don't expect everything to feel modern. Fortunately, the controls are great, but the rather one-note mission structure could definitely be an issue for some. But if you go in with the right expectations and you just want some dumb fun, extracting humans' brains, zapping them to your heart's content, then decimating buildings in your spaceship, then you'll have an absolute blast. The dialogue is cheesy but extremely entertaining, and in general, it's a game that simply couldn't be released nowadays. Where Saints Row failed in the dumb fun factor, Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed makes up for it in spades, and that's why I liked it. If there is confirmation of the save glitch being fixed, then I would happily bump this up to a liked a lot, as I did genuinely have a lot of fun with the game. Regardless, I would be very careful about it right now, as you never know when that glitch could pop up again. I can only imagine just how frustrating that could have been if it happened 5 or 6 hours into my playthrough. But there we have our review for Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed on PlayStation 5. I would love to know what you think about the game. Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to check out the videos on the right, and you may as well subscribe while you're at it. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you all in the next video.